TxStampin Sharon. Oh boy, I got to playing in my studio today, and you just wait till you see what I came up with. I was so excited, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I did. If you currently do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd be honored to help you with your Stampin' Up! Supply needs. You can find how to contact me, my website, and all of that good information in the description box below. Just click the Read More button. Speaking of buttons, if you're new to my channel, I want to welcome you. I invite you to hit the subscribe button below and then hit that notification bell. You'll be notified every time I upload a video or I do a YouTube premiere. Let me show you what I've been doing. So I got this stamp set quite a while back, To a Wild Rose, and I started playing with it. And because it was a 3-step stamp set, I don't know, I struggled. So I have some tips to help you in case you were just like me. And I have a really fun way to use this stamp set that you don't have to struggle anymore with, okay? Now, first of all, the stamps images are shaped on the outside of the package. If you will lay your stamp, see I'm following the edges here. If you will lay your stamp just like that and then pick it up with a block, and I have marked my blocks with my initials just in case I'm out with some stamping friends and I take some blocks. That way I know which one's mine. But I also know when I use this little trick that the initials are going to always face me, okay? Then I pick another spot on the flower. So I'm looking at this piece right here. Nope, must be this piece down here. So then I can line it up. I'm looking at this little piece underneath. This may be hard on the camera. Same technique with my block. There we go. So now we're gonna have some fun stamping. So first I wanna show you that I took Cherry Cobbler ink. Haven't used Cherry Cobbler in a while. And Old Olive. And I grabbed a sponge. And when you wanna start doing this technique, kind of start off the edge because it's gonna be pretty dark. And we're just going to do this. Kind of do it again over here. So I started playing this way, and then I graduated to something that truly made me smile. And I think those of you who have followed me for any hot minute, then you're going to know why it made me so happy. All right, so I just kind of did just some sponging like that. Then I brought in my Old Olive. And I did the same thing. My Old Olive is not as dark as that red. So what I was trying to avoid was any darkness when I first hit the cardstock. Oh, speaking of cardstock, I am using shimmery white because I thought, we just want to make it sparkle as much as we can. Okay, so I did that. Kind of let it dry for a few seconds. Then I took my embossing buddy. Like that. Now, this poor embossing buddy has already seen better days. So I always use the back side like that whenever I'm going to be doing what I just did. Then I pulled out my Versamark stamp pad and I started stamping. But I'm not going to show you how to finish this card. I'm going to show you what the finished card looks like. I embossed it with gold. So I used my Versamark and then I embossed it with gold. And when I looked at the gold, I remembered a comment that one of my YouTube stamping friends out there said, what would happen if I used copper on a card that I made a couple weeks ago? It was my sepia card where I used white embossed powder. So that's what gave me the idea to do what I'm about to do now. So if you go back and look at my video on the sepia card, you will see how I did a wash just with soft suede ink. This is still the shimmery white paper because it holds up to the water that I applied much better. So I took this card and I had several pieces left over, and us crafters, we don't throw anything away, right? So then I took my soft suede and I stamped my filler image, if you would. I don't know really what to call that. Looking at my initials, facing me. I'm going to stamp 3 images. And this card looks so different than the one I just showed you. And then, you know me, I couldn't stop. I made a 3rd card, so I'll show you that one. Totally different, same concept. So you could easily make your cards with whatever background you want. You can do the wash or you can do the sponges. All right, so we want that to dry again, remember, because our inks stay wet just a little bit. They're nice and juicy and they do stay wet. I am going to pounce my embossing buddy over. Open up my Versamark pad, looking to see where my initials are, facing me. I'm going to stamp. And honestly, with this technique, it does not stress me out if I don't follow the other image exactly. Whereas when I was using the other 3 stamps together, and if I got one of them off, it kind of stressed me out. And maybe that's just me, because I have seen some beautiful cards done with To a Wild Rose, and I'm like, maybe it's just me. I don't know. I've been doing this for 22 years, so I don't know. Usually it takes a lot for a stamp set to get the better of me, but this one did. But now that I have figured this out, I can't stop playing with it. Now I'm going to cover up my Versamark, and I'm bringing in my favorite copper. My Stampin' friend that was on YouTube made that comment about copper, and I was like, oh, she has given me a great idea. So rather than doing another sepia card technique, because I already showed y'all that, I decided to use my copper and come up with a different card. I do like to have a foil sheet when I'm doing a lot of embossing, like I'm going to do on this card. So now I'm going to heat set that. Bringing back my Versamark in. You could try to do this, stamp the leaves and the flowers at the same time. However, when I did one like that, I got my leaf too far over because I couldn't see it as well. So I preferred to teach you how to do it this way. And I have a great paper saving tip for you guys. I know that our copper foils are something that we cherish. Oh, and I've got something else to share with you too that I figured out that you're gonna love. I'm like, what took me so long to figure this one out? I chose not to stamp my leaves with the soft suede like I did the flower, but you certainly could. It's your card. My hope is that I inspire y'all, and then you make it your own. Now, my shimmery white card base, or my shimmery white card layer, was 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I wanted to mount it on copper, but that's a big piece of copper, isn't it, my friends? We don't want to waste that. Like, nobody would see this part. So I grabbed my paper trimmer, and I was not specific. I just wanted to leave an edge. You could get precise if you needed to, but I kind of did maybe, I don't know, 1/2 inch. You know, before we had stitched rectangle dies, this is what we did all the time. We made our own frames just using the trimmer. Because I knew I needed another piece of copper, and rather than cut that valuable foil for what the other thing I needed, I decided, we'll just use it out of the center of this piece. I've got so many copper bits in my studio. There you go. So now we have our frame, and I can lay this down. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, I'm going to tell you my other trick that I discovered. For those of you who have watched me use copper foil to cut any of the dies out, you know I always tell you to remove the backing of the copper because there is a plastic coating. So the other day I was playing, just embossing. I was embossing copper on copper. I was like, oh, I haven't played with that. So I was doing it, and when I was heat setting it, look what the heat tool did. It melted that plastic. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, I could have been just I could have just been embossing my copper foil all this time to get that started, and then I could easily just pull it off. Isn't that brilliant? Ah, I just had to share that with you. All right, so I've gone ahead and adhered this, and my paper, as you can see, it's kind of warped because I did use water on it. So I'm going to take my liquid glue. Now, this is very important. You do not need much glue, especially on the edges. I am barely squeezing my bottle. If for some reason I did squeeze too hard and get too much, I would take the other end and, get that smoothed out some, okay? But I did pretty good. The reason that you do not want this glue to ooze out is because you just about can't get it off that copper. You could use a product called Undo, but it takes time. As far as I just use like a white piece of, a white tissue or something, and then I put a little bit of Undo on it, and then I'll come along and wipe. But if you will do it the way I just showed you, then you won't have any trouble. All right, I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to make the sentiment layer. I'm going to bring my paper trimmer back in, and that piece that I cut out, I'm going to use it. Now let's just see how big of a piece I got. I wasn't quite there. All right, so I need 1 3/4. Whoops, 1 3/4. Now you better believe that that's going to go in my stash. 1 3/4 by 3 1/4. I've already cut my very vanilla layer for my sentiment, and it measures 3 inches by 1 1/2. I'm going to get our embossing buddy. Bringing our Versamark back in. Now I will tell you, since I had a bit of that left over, I did try to emboss this on there, but it was a little hard to read. So I decided, nah, we'll just stick with plain vanilla. All right, I'm gonna pull this in just a little bit. I hope you can still see it on the camera, but my layer is pretty close to the size I needed. Pour my copper embossing powder on. Hold it with my bone folder and heat set. I don't think I was very clear on why I started using the foil. I'm trying to protect this is a vinyl work surface. I don't want my vinyl to lift up by heating too much on it. And I feel that aluminum foil kind of helps deflect the heat, and it helps it emboss quicker. I've done it for years, and I was like, how come I quit doing that? I don't know. Okay, so now we're going to add our sentiment layer to our copper. I sure do want to thank my YouTube friend out there that gave me this idea because it really inspired me. And guys, I share videos with y'all to help you, but a lot of you inspire me just right back. And I really appreciate that, because even though I've been doing it for 22 years, almost 23, I'm always inspired by others. I think we all are when we are paper crafters, don't you? True friendship is one of God's greatest gifts. Isn't it gorgeous? Gorgeous. All right, so I already showed you the first one that I did with gold. Now, totally changing it up a bit. How about with white embossing powder? Same thing, same concept. What do y'all think? I would love to hear your comments below. I would love to see those thumbs up. Happy stamping, y'all.